How have I found myself semi-retired? What are the choices that led to this? What are the things observed that have led to this? The last shop that I was at really pushed myself, trying to find that next gear, trying to find that second level. My reward for doing that was as much as it's a cliche, or as much as I would criticize people for it, my reward for that was for lack of a better term, a fucking mental breakdown. Even taking a couple of months off after leaving there wasn't enough time to heal back up. My follow-up job to that ended up being a bit of a failure, and then, as luck would have it, had a third option with another friend who owned a shop. Was patient with me, gave me a chance to heal. Had a situation there where he was taking up more of the responsibility, to the point of being practical. I don't know if that's making sense at all, but when your business owner isn't working hard or actually taking ownership of it, or merely just poo-poos your ideas for a business, then it kind of leaves you with nothing. And the previous 5 years of that was just more than my nerves could bear. And then weighted against all this bullshit, vet bro self-help shit, this stoic thing that I should have been strong enough to hold up to, is what I told myself in my mind. Recently, though, working back, had some personal troubling health markers. You know, when you're looking at a situation in your body where you have, say, 5 years before serious physical consequences, maybe 10 if you're lucky. For me, it affected my perspective. Kind of taught me the importance of self-care, and combine that with some of the older managers and older business owners whom I have respect for, where they finally had the money, they finally had the time, but honestly they've been having the money for a long time, but they didn't feel the need to make the time. By then they were physically unable to do the things that they feel would make them happy, or things that would make them and their spouse happy. I think that's key. Because if it came down to finding a role in a business and building up a business and making something happen, I think I could personally find happiness doing that, so long as I was in a good role, you know. But the results and the other people that pay for that are my friends, family, loved ones. And it just was no longer worth it to me. So, I mean, this one particular guy, he is seriously fucked up. Started out where he had vertigo, then it went on to pneumonia, and then when they looked closer at his pneumonia, they found lesions in his lungs, and it's cancer. They look a little deeper, and it's stage 4 cancer, you know, going all through his body. He's a great individual. Loves his family. Very generous. I mean, so generous that I can't even put it into words. Like, just, I had to put money to it, but he's one of those that he just has like a fistful of cash. Oh, grandkid needs this, we'll fix up the car for her. Just a handful of cash. And in some cases you see where the family takes advantage of that, and his, by some strange miracle of economics, isn't that way. So the other part of it is maybe just taking up for them in a world that's not going to have them. And I'm not going to do that by being a miserable shit typing on a keyboard and pushing deadlines. So I'm scaling into it. It's based on the question you asked, Shafe. I think in some cases, say we take the semi-retirement in thirds, and to me previously when I thought of it, it would be along the lines of, you're down to 1/3 of the way you used to work. Well, I'm at a 2/3 phase, and I'm not sure, where I'm working 2/3 as much as I used to, time wise. Maybe argued that I'm doing as much work in those 2/3 that I used to do in the full. Maybe, but the numbers don't show that. There's not enough time for that. I don't think it's a full third of my productivity down. But that 1/3 of time that I've taken off of work has yielded me 2/5 of time for myself. So that's the story. Now that I'm looking at it, and Shafe, your question about it sort of made me go back. Like, it seemed like just last month my head was rolling around thinking, oh, how did my dad do that? When he was 54, all he talked about was retiring and getting out of there. Shit, I don't know. Maybe I get it. The more I thought about it, the more I reflected on it. Other part of it is the context of what retirement is. I think in my case, I've seen examples where retirement meant that you're not working anymore, and you're sitting in a chair kind of on Easy Street, and you're watching your shows, and you go to breakfast at a restaurant at a certain time, lunch at a restaurant at a certain time, and supper at a restaurant in a god-awful early sometime, like that 4:30 dinner supper that you see the older folks do. I didn't want that, but that isn't what it is. To find out that isn't what it has to be was a game changer. Other one was I saw a thing from a financial planner, and granted, maybe I shouldn't base my whole life against what one person said, but it made sense. And it had to do with the early draw on Social Security. And they had this scale of when you spend the most money in retirement and when you have the most physical ability is in your younger years. So in the 60s, it's important to have that time while you physically can do it. So apply that to perspective of looking like I may not be able to physically do something. Further applying the lens of more of perspective of 3 years ago when I couldn't physically do something, and I'm finally building it back, but I realized that there's no permanence to what's been built back. Certain frailties and permanent penalties from being in that hole who White Stoke of all people reached his hand down into. Who's to say? Who is to say? But meantime, though, I don't know what more it'll bring, but one of my favorite hobbies is videography. I love that. I love making videos. I love posting them for people to watch and share. I love the outdoors.
All right, so what we found out, because there was a lot of fluid on the top, but that nipple right there,
That's it.
that guy, I don't know where that guy goes, and we're missing a hose. I'm gonna look it up on my phone and see if I can find any kind of something like specs